Lakers after a summer in which he was traded from the Clippers to the Grizzlies, then negotiated a buyout from the Grizzlies. Everything that is old is new again because Rondo, who played for the Lakers for 2 seasons, would be the 5th former Laker to rejoin the team. Rondo was
and a deal that involved the Clippers acquiring Rajon Rondo from the Atlanta Hawks for Lou Williams and 2 second-round picks. Now, LA gets a floor general while Atlanta gets more scoring depth. And Jay Will, the professor, what do you see Rondo providing the Clips on their quest to the franchise's first ever championship?
You see, MT, this team is now getting El Capitan. They're getting a leader. They're getting somebody who is willing to draw a line in the sand and say, hey, you get over here, you do what I need you to do. Kawhi Leonard is not that guy. Paul George is a scorer, but he's different than Rajon Rondo. Now, exclude this year. I'm not talking about this year. I'm talking about playoff Rondo, okay? Got to average 6.6 assists per game. 6.6 assists per game. I said it. I still butchered it. Here we go. On the screen coming up. Once again, look at he comes off the screen here. As he comes off the screen, look at the read he makes. Simple reads. What are you doing here? He's going to attack this gap. As he attacks this gap here, look at how the defense all rotates over. Defense is coming over. Here we go. Defenders coming over. Coming over. He's seeing everything, right? Rondo, always seeing the floor. This is what you love about him. Just scouring. As he's coming, he's seeing here. What are you doing? What are you doing, Jokic? He sees over here in the corner. He also sees behind him that Danny Green can slide into this gap, making the simple plays as he draws the defense, seeing the court, boom, kick out pass, bald eagle there, ready to knock it down, knocks down the shot, okay? Little simple plays like that are what makes him special. Basketball IQ. Once again, as he comes off this high pick and roll, spacing, timing is everything. AD sets a screen. All right, as he sets a screen, the person to pay attention to here is Paul Millsap. Watch how Paul Millsap here just keeps going back, keeps going back, keeps going back. You know why? Because when he comes off this screen, he's pushing him. He's pushing him. Watch how he creates space. Keeps going at him, keeps going out, keeps going at him. Now as he goes at him, I missed it, darn it, you'll see it. As he goes at him, he gets into the gap here. Look at all the defenders he draws. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Look at some of the gaps these guys have. You have Dwight Howard can slip behind the defense. Danny Green can slip up here. You have a little kick to the corner. Look at the vision here. He's reading everybody. What are you doing, Jamal Murray? Have a kick out here to KCP. Can I see here to Dwight Howard slipping behind Jokic, who's not paying attention? Michael Porter Jr., he's not paying attention to his man. Can Danny Green slip up here for a 3? Or have a simple gap pass right here to AD. Now, come on. Get out there, Paul Millsap. Get out. Those are the simple plays, though. That basketball IQ, making the game easier for everybody. That's what the Clippers were missing. How about Kawhi Leonard and Paul George lead this team in assists? Nobody else on the team is averaging 3 assists or more.
All right, you're in your playing shape, you're in your touchscreen shape, but you are not a Rondo expert. The person that is on this show so happens to be Paul Pierce. You played with him. You understand his leadership style. How do you think he'll fit in with the Clippers?
Well, I like what Jay Will said about drawing a line in the sand. And the things we questioned about the Clippers last year is they lack leadership. That's something that Rondo is going to be able to bring to the team because, of course, he did graduate from the Pearson Garnett Leadership Academy. And now I think this is the one thing that the Clippers were missing. And one can argue that he was the 3rd most important player on the Lakers championship run last year. I didn't say best, but most important player. And I think he can provide that for the Clippers because now they have a leader, they have a champion, and a guy, he raises their IQ, and a guy who knows what it takes when it gets there to get in guys' face when they're down or when they're up 15 points to close out a team, when they're up 3-1 to close out a team. That's what he's going to provide, and that's what I thought the Clippers were missing last year.
Rondo, terrific basketball IQ, great in pick and roll. But the one thing you and Jay didn't mention that the Clippers are going to actually need from the point guard spot is scoring. They're last in the league as it relates to their point guard starting and scoring points. So what does that mean? They're in the West. You got Book and CP. You got Donovan Mitchell. You got Dame Dollar. You got guys that's going to get you buckets, Spider Mitchell. And so it's going to be interesting to see if the last couple of minutes, Kawhi loves to operate mid-range in the 3-point stance. I don't know if Rondo's going to be able to have him cutting and moving and stuff like that in their first year. So I'm excited that he gets a chance to run with them, but he's definitely going to need to score some points and hit some open shots.
I think what you prove with your touchscreen, though, is that, playoff Rondo's situation is that he's the floor general they need. Do you believe he can bring the scoring that Jay Rose is mentioning, a load that he really didn't have to carry as much with the Lakers?
I mean, he started to make shots for the Lakers off kickoffs and things of that sort. I think he has to be serviceable. But when I watch him play, nobody makes the game easy. Right? Like Paul George and Kawhi are getting points out of their system or when they're isolated. It's not like somebody's just in transition, a hockey assist. Those little pass the ball ahead, make the simple play. I think that's an additive dimension to their team. I don't know if he's enough to get them over the hump, though.
Okay.
That's another question.
Yeah, that's another question, especially.
It's the end of an era in LA for the Clippers, at least. Over the weekend, they traded longtime point guard Patrick Beverley to the Grizzlies for Eric Bledsoe, who's headed back to the team that drafted him. Also going to Memphis in the trade, Rajon Rondo, Daniel Arturo. The deal saves the Clippers $30 million in luxury tax and creates an $8.3 million traded player exception that they will have a year to lose. Max Kellerman. Did the Clippers improve?
They did. And this was a good trade for the Clippers. You know how I say you don't want to trade, break a dollar into 4 quarters in the NBA, but you want to turn 4 quarters into a dollar? This is more like 2 quarters into a 50-cent piece. Eric Bledsoe can attack the basket. You give up Patrick Beverley, he's a defender. Rondo, high basketball IQ, but Rondo's getting long in the tooth. Like, he really has been in decline. And we saw it even like playoff Rondo didn't. When playoff Rondo didn't show up, that tells you he's just getting older. And Patrick Beverley was never a dynamic offensive player, but he could play some defense and, give you that fighting spirit. Well, Bledsoe does the same thing. He can do defensively and even maybe be more disruptive defensively sometimes based on his athletic ability. Than a guy, than what they've lost. And meantime, he's a player who can get to the basket and score. And they have shooting on the team, so Bledsoe's not a great shooter, but it's not as much of an issue. In fact, the spacing may even help him attacking the basket. This is the Clippers just got better because they got the best player in the deal.
Max, I disagree with you. It's not that I'm saying that Patrick Beverley is better than Eric Bledsoe, because I'm not. And I like Eric Bledsoe. He's not a scrub. He can play really strong as well, and he can put some points up, and I get that point. So technically speaking, you're right about him being a better player. But I got to tell you, I'd rather have Patrick Beverley come postseason. And last time I checked, the Clippers are trying to win a championship. This is what it is. The Los Angeles Clippers, a legitimate argument could be made, should be standing here today as NBA champions. If Kawhi Leonard had gone down near the end of the Utah series, a lot of people believe the Clippers would have beaten the Phoenix Suns. And I'm not ruling that out. Not with Kawhi and Paul George playing the way that he was playing. With Kawhi averaging 30 on 57% shooting from the field and 39% from three-point range before he went down. But then when you take into account, the energizer bunny that Patrick Beverley was, his ability to defend, and he actually was hitting some key, not in abundance, but he was hitting some key pivotal shots. End of the Utah series, obviously a couple of games against Phoenix. I just look at it from the standpoint that being the professional Hall of Fame pest that he is, somebody that doesn't just goes out there and plays, but really, really tries to get into your head. I don't see that in Eric Bledsoe. I see a guy that just goes out there and plays hard. He doesn't cheat you. He's got game. He can play. But he's not somebody that's an energizer bunny that provides that kind of spark. And I think that come postseason time, particularly when you look at the Western Conference, I think those kind of intangibles are things that you need to get you over the hump. And I don't see that being Eric Bledsoe, which is why he was gone from Milwaukee and why they had no problems trading him for Drew Holiday. And ultimately, he was saddled in New Orleans before, and ultimately Memphis before he ended up being back in Los Angeles with